Okay. Good evening, everybody. All the multitudes that are here. B'ezrat Hashem, we're learning tonight Likutei Moharan, Torah Chaf. This is the second shir of Torah Chaf. I think the second, yeah, it's the second. So, until some more people come about, we'll just go over what we learned so far. It says in the third parak, of Likutei Moharan. Let me just share the screen here. Right here. Okay? Pirkat Lisah, the Sifra D'Tzniusa. This is an article of Teres HaNister by Kabbalah. It was written by Yaakov Avinu, and it is included in Sefer Zohar and Parshas Truma. So we said, Tisha Tikunin Yekirin Itmasra Dikna. Nine precious, nine precious rectifications were given to the beard. We said that the nine tikkunin yekirin that we're giving to the beard, we said that Olam Atzilus is divided into, basically into two, actually it's divided into five partsufim, the five personas. There is the Arich Anpin, long face, with the beard of Arich Anpin that has 13 tikkunim, the 13 tikkunim of Rachamim. And then we have the parts of Zer Anpin, which includes generally the Sfirot of Chesed to Yesod. That over there you have 9 spiritual tikkunim, which is called the 9 rectifications of the beard. And he says, V'hu v'ilah v'ikara ishtakach. It says it's an incredible, exalted thing and covered in chashivas. V'ugenzai akira. This is one of the precious hidden treasures. That's why the Torah hid this 9 tikkunim, and they're not mentioned in any pasuk in the Torah except when Moshe Rabbeinu mentions them after the Meraglim. But there's no, like with the 13 tikkunim, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I will pass all my goodness upon you. And it says, Hashem, Kel Rachum Chanun. The Kadosh Baruch Hu said, this is where it's at. So Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned only 9, but there's no other mention to them. So now we said, what are the actual tikkunim? Okay. So we said that the hairs upon hairs that come from the opening of the ears all the way to the head of the mouth. In other words, it comes to the two beginnings of the lips. These are the hair that come like that. This side and this side. This is the first tikkun. This side and this side. So, Pitche Udnin Ad Resha Depo. That's the first tikkun. Miresha Hai LeResha Achra. Then we have tikkunim that come from from one head to the other head, not from one edge to the other edge, and from one edge to the other. We're talking about all the hairs that are surrounding the mouth. That's the second tikkun. And then we have Ishtakach mitchot rei nukvin ar chamalia de lo ischazer. Under the two nostrils, we have a little tunnel that comes here. It can be seen because there are small hairs that are covering it. That's the third tikkun. In ischapion mehaigisa mehaigisa, we have the cheeks that are covered with hair. This is right around where the cheeks under the teeth. This is from one side to the other side. In them, you can see apples as red as roses. These are the cheeks on top of the cheekbones. And it says, and then it says, this is the fifth tikkun. And bechad chuta talian ukmin takifin ad chedvoi. In one, let's just see what it is. Okay, now here. I wanted to sort of like be dramatic and show you. In one line, are hanging and hanging down very mighty black hairs that go all the way to the chest. We're talking about the front of the beard, that level of the beard that goes all the way down. These are strong hairs. This is the shurish of the gvuros. This is the side of the beard that people can see. They are strong because they are the shurish of the gvuros. Then we have Sifan Sumaki. Then we have Sifan Sumaki Kevarda Ispanon. We have lips that are red like a rose that have no hair on them. Okay, and that's the seventh tikkun. Then we have Zir Nachtim Begroino, Machatin Kadlo. Then we have finer hair, smaller hair, that actually go down the throat, and they cover the throat opposite the back of the head. In other words, this part. That's the eighth tikkun. Then we have the middle, between the front and the back, we have the middle tikkunim. These are Ravavin is Iri Nachnu B'Shikola. These are strong hair, small hair, larger, small hair that are going down in exact mishkol, with equally down. This is the ninth tikkun. In these 9 tikkunim, you have the parts of Zer Anpin, that is strong and very powerful. Tremendous ability to mamtik dina. B'ezrat Hashem, we will get back to these tikkunim when, what each of them actually means according to the Torah. A little bit later on. Just let me make a little seder here. And here we start in Seif Aleph. The Rebbe says as follows. Da sheyesh neshama ba'olam. You should know that there is a neshama in the world. Shal yoda nizgale be'urei ufirushi atera. That through this neshama comes the revelation of the meaning, the explanations, and the explanations of what the Torah means. That neshama is the source. And even all the other mefarshei Torah, all those who are mefarsh the Torah, all those that write commentary on the Torah, That explanation that they all received from this particular neshama. V'hi mesuberes be'isurim, and this particular neshama is covered with suffering. Pas b'melech toichal, bread with salt you will eat, u'mayim b'msera tishta, and water in measured amounts you will drink. And the Mishnah goes, also va'aretz tisha, the Pirkei Avos, and on the ground you will sleep. Chayetzar tichya, and life that has strife with sorrow you will live. It says, Ashrecha ba'olam hazeh, Ashrecha ba'olam habo. Fortunate you are in this world, in the next world. We spoke about it at length the last time. That's the way of Torah. Rabbeinu explains Mefurish. V'chol mefasha Torah, all the commentaries, the commentators of the Torah, they all receive from this neshama. V'zayis neshama kol v'rakigach le'esh. This is the same concept that we found also in Torah Nun Vav. That Rabbeinu says that every person has a pchinas malchus, and we know man malchi rabbanon. Who are the true royalty? These are the rabbanon. Each one is rabbi on his own in his own sake. You know, the way he has to give unto the people that get from him and receive from him. So Rabbeinu says over there, sometimes the people of his household, and he says in this kind of order going, you know, that there's one neshama that people receive underneath him, have to receive from him. He says it's happening both, you know, outwardly in an overt manner and in a covert manner. So it's the same kind of thing over here. All mefasha Torah, they receive from that neshama. And now he's saying, Rabbeinu says another chiddush. Zoysa neshama, this particular neshama, called dvareya kigach le'esh. All its words are like coals of fire. It is not possible to receive and to draw the waters of Torah. Except somebody whose words are as hot as embers, as burning embers. Bivchinas aloko dvari ka'esh. It is said in Yirmiyahu. Now, I don't know how many of you had the chance of looking this Tisha B'Av, looking at what was going on in the first bias before the Chulman. Yirmiyahu is the central figure there. And he was persecuted. So if you think that what Netanyahu is going through is bad, you don't know anything. You got another thing coming. He was persecuted by everybody. People were upset that he was prophesying. He was saying to people, yo, it's going to be bad. It's going to be very, very painful. If you don't listen, if you don't correct your ways, you know, things are going to be bad. And people actually found this a reason to put him in jail because he prophesizes bad things. It's not politically correct. How can you do this? And they actually put him in jail. In fact, they threw him into a pit of mud. He was almost drowning. He almost drowned there until somebody actually, you know, spoke to the king and says, listen, he's going to die there. And they pushed him out and put him chazar v'tara. Unbelievable what he went through. And they had false prophets at that time. They were doing like, you know, the pundits, you know. These false prophets was, but don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. You're going to win over the Assyrians. I mean, the Assyrians, I mean, they're toast. Forget about it. You can stick a fork in them, they're done. There's not what to talk about. And Yirmiyahu said, "Halochot dvari ka'esh." I says, how can't you not see the difference in my nevuah, my prophecy, and the prophecy of the false prophets? Because the words of the prophets are words that he got from Hashem. And the words were burning like burning embers, burning coals. So you can't mistake it. So he said, I look code very cash. I mean, my words are like fire. How can you not see that this is the true prophecy? He says, so this is, first of all, this particular neshama, all the commentators of the Torah receive from that neshama. And this neshama goes through unbelievable suffering. And because kach darka Torah, this is the road the Torah has to get into the world. We said, so how can you say that that person is fortunate in this world and the next? Next world, I understand, but what's this world? He said, we said, you're going to live a life of sorrow. We explained that when a person learns Torah, Rabbeinu says, when the Torah shows its face to somebody, its true face. You know, we have in another picture of it says, Kol hanehne medivrei Torah, anybody who enjoys words of Torah, and the pshat of the saying is anybody that is getting covered or he derives benefit for himself from divrei Torah. Arezeb bottle min ha'olam. That he passes. He passes away, and he is he's not even in the world anymore. He passes. In other words, he gets anybody who derives benefits, selfish benefits from Torah, he's taking his life from the world. In other words, he's not alive. He's going to meet Allah, a very bitter end. But Rabbeinu explains it in a totally different way. He says that Kol hanehne medivrei Torah, anybody, the Torah shows him her face. After you broke through the shell and you went through the clippers and you put yourself, as Rabbeinu said in Torah Aleph, with tremendous koyach, and you break through the atmosphere and you break into outer space, the Torah shows you her face. He says, this world has nothing to offer him anymore. I mean, what? Well, you give me a piece of meat. Well, what's, Rav Steinman, Zecher Tzal Livrocha, used to sit, on his bed, and he had a kitchen chair, as a backrest. And there was a secular guy that made some kind of a research about Rabbanim and this and that, and he actually came, and he wrote, and he came to the house of Rav Steinman, and he saw him, and he wrote, and he said, here is a person, that if you would just say one word, the people around him would give him a palace, would build him a palace, literally. And he's living in a poverty which, like in the ghetto, the right songs, they sing the blues about living under such conditions. Well, Shaman was always like that. Since he was a Bacha in Yeshiva, he was like that. In Yeshiva, he didn't sleep on bed. He stayed up and he learned by the fire until he fell asleep, and then he got up again. Kach darka shel Torah. This is the way of Torah. When you are getting Torah this way, there's a lot of things that Rav Steinman said which are very, very interesting to visit one day. It throws cold water on a lot of highfalutin theories and opinions and hashkafas, that are very prevalent in our circles. So now Rabbeinu says another chiddush. The very existence of this neshama depends on it possessing words that are as hot as burning coals. It says, when this neshama falls down from bechinas halachot varikash, when it falls down from that aspect of all my words are like fire, and her words are no longer like burning coals, and its words, the words of the neshama, get chilled. Azai nistalekas. This neshama passes away. Now comes the next chiddush. Ukshenistalekes, and when that neshama passes away, Azai nistalek bi'ura Torah. Then the commentaries, the explanations, the things that make the Torah understood are lost. Nistalek bi'ura Torah nimshech al yodam. The Torah becomes unclear. V'azai kol mefarsha Torah en yicholim lasig shum bi'ura Torah. All the commentators of the Torah, all the teachers of the Torah cannot know anything in the Torah clearly. Rabbeinu says, "Ve'az nis'ar meriva ala tzadikim." That awakens an argument and dispute on the tzadikim. Because the main dispute in the world comes when the explanation of the Torah leaves this world. Because the biur, the explanation, is the teretz on all the kashas and all the disputes. To understand that, when Moshe Rabbeinu was mistalik, the people cried for him for 30 days, and they lost 3,000 halachas. They forgot. They forgot. So they asked all the Zakanim, about these halachas. The Zakanim say, we're also busy, mourning for Moshe Rabbeinu. We also forgot. So they asked Yoshua bin Nun. You for sure he knows. He says he also forgot. So we have here something which we say every single day during davening. At the end of the korbanos, it says, Amar Bishmoel Bishloishes Ramidas Ator Dreshus Bahem. There are 13 codes that when you put them, you subject the psukim of the Torah, when you put them on the psukim of the Torah, you can learn the halacha from it. There's klal uprat, uprat uklal. Kal Vachomer, whatever. There are 13 different ways. And these are codes that, like the Germans in Achshunam, they had the Enigma machine, that they coded the messages to the submarines that sank the British and American boats. So they would send them coded messages. And they had machines in the beginning, machines at the end. They coded and decoded. That's the first, computers, as it were. Actually, there were computers before. But those 13 codes are, when you put them on the psukim, you can understand from the pasuk what halacha is. Now, if the number 13 sounds familiar, it's because this is the ishtalshelus, the trickle-down manifestation of the 13 rectifications of the beard of Arich Anpin. When it goes in every single world, it exists, and it also exists in Olam Asiyah, because the korbanos that we say every single day, they are the rectifications of Olam Asiyah. And when you finish Olam Asiyah, you go to Olam Yitzira, which is Sukkah de Zimra. And when you finish that, you go to Olam Abriya, which is Krishma and its brachas. And then you go to Shmoneh Esrei, which represents the Olam Atzilus. So when the Torah is clear and we know what the halacha is, there's no problem. There's no problem. But what happens when the Torah is unclear? We have Torah Shebal Peh, and we have Torah Shebichtav. We have Torah Shebal Peh. The Torah Shebichtav is explained through the Torah Shebal Peh. Without Torah Shebal Peh, you don't understand what Torah Shebichtav means. And now, Dvar Shebal Peh, you're not allowed to write. So this is like, like a broken telephone. It's like from generation to generation, things get distorted. People forget things. So that's why they have the 13 midos shatur and dershas b'hem. And at the time when they forgot the 3,000 halachas, in the days of the morning of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Zakanim didn't know, that Yeshua didn't know. Then Atniel ben Knaz returned those 3,000 halachas in his pilpul. He said, until now, Moshe Rabbeinu was alive, and we got the Torah, everything was clear. Anything was unclear, you just ask Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the halacha? And, and he told us. And if Moshe Rabbeinu, for some reason, didn't know because it was a new thing, he just turned around to Kodesh Baruch Hu and asked the Kodesh Baruch Hu would tell him, and bada bing, bada boom, that's it. It's clear as a bell. But when Moshe Rabbeinu was mistaleh, then started confusion. You don't know. The halacha is like this, or the halacha is like this, or this. That starts when there's no das, when you don't understand. That starts the animosity. That starts the machlokes. You see, I don't have to agree with my friend. But what I do have to do is I need to understand him. I understand where he's coming from. I have to agree with him. If I understand where he's coming from, then that's his way, that's my way, all right. But if I don't understand where he's coming from, there starts a dispute. and I'm chaylik on him. How can you say something like this? It's just wrong. It's because I don't understand, I don't have the das to understand where he's coming from. So it says, when this neshama was, when biura Torah, the explanation of the Torah, the clarity in the Torah is gone, all Mefash Torah cannot get any true clarity in explaining the Torah, and the automatic result is meriva the tzaddikim, it's argument, disputes on the tzaddikim. Because the main disputes come because there's no longer, the Torah is not clear anymore. Because the explanations in the Torah ki'abir hu teretz ala kashas v'emirim. It's the teretz on all once you say, all right, now I understand. Oh, okay, you didn't tell me, if I would have known, and so on and so on. This is, it says, that everything that happened in Midbartzin, when Sheshu B'chinas Dibur HaMetzunon, this is the chilled Dibur. Shesham Meta Miriam. This is when Miriam, she passed away in Midbartzin. B'chinas HaNeshama Sovelat Misimiriros. Her name is Miriam. So there was a woman, a prophetess, her name is Miriam, that actually passed away at that time. But the Torah tells us another message. It's coded in the Poshet Pshat of the Torah, that the neshama that suffers the bitterness of the shubad on the Torah, of being enslaved, as it were, to a Torah. When that neshama passes away, v'az nistaleka be'er, this is when the well passed. But the word be'er is milshon biur, milshon explanation, clarity. Hainu biur Torah. And what happened next is as unavoidable as, vaz v'yorem ha'am Moshe. Then Moshe, starts arguing with the people. Hainu b'chinas ha'meriva shenis'or. This is the Ve'ela Mefasha Torah, and these explainers of the Torah, the Kraim Bishvil Zeh, from the root Miriam, they're called Moirim, because Shemekabel Meldei Neshama, because they received from this Neshama, which is called Miriam. That's one thing. Gam, another reason why they're called Moirim, they teach their teachers. As Rabbi Akiva said, and from my students I learned more than anybody else. Because they ask questions, they ask questions, and then the Torah gets clear. This is what Moshe told him. Listen, please, the Morim. And now Rabbeinu says, this is Bichlal, about this particular neshama that is Mamshich Biur Torah to everybody. Okay, this is a general neshama, and when this neshama is stalik, this is a big machlekes start. Now in Seif Beis, Rabbeinu comes and says what is something which is negeh to each and every one of us. By the way, the first one obviously also is negeh to each and every one of us, because what happens in your own house when people don't understand one another, people don't understand where the other one is coming from? The unavoidable result is dispute. And in order to be able to give this understanding, you have to go through, especially somebody who is the head of a household, has to go through, he has to eat a lot of crow, as they say, in order to understand and be soivel the people in his household. If it's your wife, if it's your children, you have to understand where they're coming from. They won't understand where you're coming from in the beginning. They'll feed you plenty of crow. But if you take a look at them and you are still giving them the understanding that they need, they come first in your mind, at the end they come, what goes around comes around, they'll come to see a point of view as well. But here Rabbeinu speaks about some, Siman Bez, Rabbeinu speaks about something which is negea to each and every one of us. And anybody who wants to bring down explanations of the Torah. First of all, he has to pull upon himself. He has to pull down upon himself hot diburim, as hot as burning coals. Now, I've been said, okay, pull down, fine. From where? And it says, "V'adibur nimshach maleva elyon." The dibur comes from the supernal heart, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The supernal heart talks about the sphere sabina. The das is nimshach from the bina, from the comprehension. So bina liba. The bina is the heart. This is the rock, the strength, the might of my heart. A rock is called a tzur. Even tzur, a mighty rock. Okay, so how do you bring about the dibur chaim, the hot words? You have to pour your speech in tefillah before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By the day tefillah say, it is through the tefillah. Nichmeru rachamei Hashem Yisbarach olav. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is filled with rachamim on him. V'niftach haleva elyon. And the supernal heart opens. Kikar rachamim ubalev. The main compassion is in the heart. V'nishpa meleva elyon dibur. And from the supernal heart come diburim. That dibur mamshich b'yira Torah, gam ken misham. This particular nekuda is worth looking at and thinking about. As we will see later on in the Torah, the mistake, as it were, that Moshe Rabbeinu did was that he hit the rock, didn't speak to it. It's a very, very important klal, very important principle in trusting HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The principle is, as they say in English, they call it, don't push your luck. It says, Kol hadochik es ashor b'chaktoi. We'll learn it afterwards in the Torah. Anybody who insists that the Kadosh Baruch Hu give him what he wants, or else, Hashem Yirachem. Ashor b'chaktoi. The hardest thing for us, and this is not just, I don't know, it's the hardest thing, but it's the main goal that we have in Avodas Hashem is shivchi, to get to shivchi kamayim libech v'nochach b'nei Hashem. Pour your heart like water before the face of Hashem. That means, Rabbeinu says, you beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu persistently, but you beg. Ribono Shel Olam, please give me A or B or C. Shalom Bayis, Parnasa, health, Torah, Avodas Hashem, Uman, everything. You're welcome to scream, because by screaming you reach a far more primordial region of your being. Because your words, when you're screaming, your words are not being filtered by your hang-ups. You're just screaming out. But even when you scream out, it's with the understanding that I'm screaming, I'm begging, and whatever you do, Vakasha, Beseder Gamur, no problem. My prerogative is that I will keep on davening. I will keep on asking. If you don't want to give, you don't give. It's an understanding. There's a difference between this and a davening, which I'm sure every single Baal Tshuva, worthy of the title, has at one point or another spoke to Kadosh Baruch Hu and says, listen, I want A, B, C, D. Now, if it's good for me, give it to me. If it's not good for me, don't give it to me. Does it sound like anything that you recognize? Okay, whatever it is, scratch it from the dictionary. That's not a way to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need your sophistication and your permission and anything else. The reason why when we come to Kodesh Baruch Hu and we come up with this sophisticated, if you know if it's good for me, give it to me. If you know it's not good for me, don't give it to me. All this kind of mind games is because we want to protect ourselves from disappointment. Okay, Kodesh Baruch Hu, it's not good for me. So, because that's okay. Because somewhere inside us, we are afraid that we will be ignored. We'll be ignored, I've said it many times, like my parents ignored me, like this one ignored me. It's like, that's, and that'll be devastating. If I'll scream and I'll shout and I'll just give it my all, and I'm ignored, that's it. I'm done. I'm like, the main nakuda over here is that if you want to succeed, we said that the last time, if you want to succeed, you have to be ready to succeed, and you have to be ready to fail. It doesn't make a difference to me. I call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't come with any ultimatum. You gotta give it to me, you gotta give it, you gotta give it to me. You don't give it to me, I stop davening. Chas v'chalila. Never do that. I ask. I scream, I cry, I do whatever it is. And what if I don't get it? I'll ask again. And if I don't get it, then I'll ask again. And if I don't get it, I'll ask again. Whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu does is good. I don't have to tell him, listen, if it's good, you do it, don't good. In myself, there is a level of trust. There's a level of trust. So you can ask, just a second, wait. If Hashem doesn't give you, you're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem doesn't give you, why do you keep on asking? Hashem knows what's good for you, what isn't good for you. So you asked, he didn't give to you. So, hey, can you get a hint? I mean, it's just, what's wrong with you? I don't want to give you. What do you want? No, that's not true. Reb Nosson explains, that being that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is good, so why do we daven for somebody for health? Whatever Hashem does is good, so if that person is not well, that's the best thing for him. So why do we daven for refuah? So Reb Nosson said, the fact that that person, the best thing for that person was to be not well, is only up to the point of davening. Once you davened, you caused, and you begged the Kadosh Baruch Hu, you caused the supernal heart to listen to you and to bestow compassion upon you. Once this is done, the thing that's best to you is to be healthy. When you are in a situation where you want to go to Oman and you can't get out of the country, you don't have money, or whatever the problem might be, so that's the best thing for you. But when you beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu's heart is open, and you keep on at it, and you beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you go after it, the supernal heart opens, and compassion comes to you, and suddenly, barabim barum, there you are in Oman. The same thing is with Shlom Bayis. The same thing is with everything else. The main thing here is trust. And trust many, many times is the hardest thing for us, isn't it? I mean, my father-in-law used to say, take back your heart, I ordered liver. Trust. Trust means feeling pain. If I don't trust, okay, so I don't get enjoyment, but I don't feel the pain either. When I trust, whoa, doesn't that open up the possibility, the door to betrayal? Man, I've been betrayed so many times during my lifetime. Trust? You want me to trust? You must be out of your cut and picking mind, man. That's the thing that we need to do. We need to trust. We need to trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We need to trust the tzaddikim. Trusting the tzaddikim means that I trust that they tell me what the Kadosh Baruch Hu says. I trust that they have the koyach and the schus to stand for me like a good lawyer, like a good advocate. Even though I myself am not worthy for Kadosh Baruch Hu to listen to me and to give me what I'm asking for. Being that I'm coming with a good lawyer, who's Masim Tova, who has went through everything for Kadosh Baruch Hu. You know, like sometimes you have somebody that you like a lot, and you're in a bad mood, and he or she comes in over and goes, suddenly you come with you'll light up the room with a smile. Unbelievable. This is what the tzaddik is for Kadosh Baruch Hu. When he comes and goes, Kadosh Baruch Hu goes, what do you want? This way, fine, no problem, let it pass. That means trusting on the koyach of the tzaddik. And you use that koyach of the tzaddikim to come to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And you beg a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Again, and again, and again. Making his better, this means you can sit there and not say anything for an hour. You can say the same thing over and over and over for an hour. Or you can have an intermittent kind of conversation of here and there you find something to say and you said it and it was done. Whatever it is that you said was said. We said this point before. You know the difference between when you get to somebody, an Arab worker, and you're trying to tell them what to do. They say, listen, Ayuni, listen to me. You take the door, door, and you put on this side, the left side. You put on the left side. The left side was where I'm happy to wear my watch on my right hand. But the watch is your left hand, this is the left side. No one is standing this way, but you're standing this way. Like, okay, repeat after me. You keep repeating, no, make sure that you understand. And of course, at the end, it didn't get you, didn't understand you, does exactly the opposite. But when you deal with, let's say, somebody in the executive level of Apple or Google or Ford or Boeing or whatever it is, okay? And you tell this, you tell the assistant, you tell the CEO, and he tells the assistant, his assistant, to do something. It's done immediately. People don't get to be assistants or CEOs of $1 trillion corporation unless this is the way they did things. I remember I used to do work for a person that our friend Danny Brock was here, also knew him, Marty Edelston. And he had this big company at the time in the 90s, at $100 million company. It was very nice. And when I did work for them, and I was supposed to receive material from them, I remember how amazed I was that they were supposed to send me a compilation of all the mailers that they made throughout the year, which one was mailed, was most successful, less successful, whatever it is. Within a day, I got a FedEx with a ready binder, big binder. Every single thing, every single mailer was in its own plastic jacket, with a note, when it was mailed, how well it did. I'm talking about 50 or 60 mailers. The next day it came. The CEO said, okay, you'll get it. I got it the next day or 2 days later, whatever it is. When you reach those high levels, there's no wishy-washy. Said is done. But the Kadosh Baruch Hu is kal v'chomer. That's what it says. Baruch oimer v'oiseh, goyzer v'mekayim. Every single word you tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're not sure that you are heard because you're not hearing the feedback. But every single word that you said, every single sigh that you sighed, every single wish that you wished was registered, and you already moved on. You are already in the next phase. You don't realize that. You don't see that, but you are. It looks to us like, we said it looks to us like today I have a wonderful day. And then today I have a day that nothing can go right. Then I have another day was like this, another day is like that. And it's, sometimes it can be a few different changes during the day. Is because it's like a computer game, that you pass, one step and another step and another step, and you jump, and monsters they try to catch you, and you eat whatever it is, you get more lives, weapons, whatever it is. When you finish the screen, you finish the step, you go up another stage. You are the way you are. You are in the middle of doing the holy work of Hashem, the holy Avodas Hashem. Every single word that you said was registered. It's done. Next screen, next stage. You are a walking, talking, breathing Avodas Hashem machine. That's the reason why it's so difficult to concentrate during davening or whatever it is, or during this Avodas, the hardest of them all. Because so much is riding on it. And so many opponents are facing you. You have no idea the drama that is going on is called your life. It looks, it feels good, or it doesn't feel good. Or it looks good, or it looks awful. Well, that's probably the right thing to do, or not the right thing to do. That's it. I don't know any more than that. Immense. You're the protagonist of the world's greatest drama. You're serving Kodesh Baruch, you're serving the king. You're fighting through the trenches. Luckily for you, you have the tzaddik on your side. Because of tremendous dinim. We can go on with this talk on and on and on and on, but time has come. B'ezrat Hashem will continue. Likutei Moharan will continue, B'ezrat Hashem, next Thursday, B'ezrat Hashem. We will meet each other Motzei Shabbos, B'ezrat Hashem. B'sha'ah tova Matzlachas, we'll learn Sichas Haran. And I want to wish each and every one of you a good Shabbos, and thank you so very much for being here, and suffering through whatever it is that